What's up, YouTube? Here we are for Arena Cube Open Day 2 Draft 2. In the same fashion as the first video, this is me recording this after the fact. I record the game, the draft and the gameplay while it's happening, but don't want to have to worry about dealing with audio stuff and baby crying in the background, etc. So here we are, and also gives me a little chance to reflect on the things that we did. So pretty clear pack one, pick one here with Luminarch Aspirant. Quite a bit of white that could wheel with Elspeth and Wandering Emperor. I guess also Approach, though that's a very specific deck. There's Oracle of Moldiah, which would, I think, be my second pick out of this pack. It's a pretty weak pack, like feeling good about getting to take Aspirant and then not good about whoever's to my left and what they have to take. So we'll snap up the Aspirant here and I think move on pretty well. I guess not super quickly, just sort of taking stock at the time. We might move up to 2.2x or whatever. Getting the heebie-jeebies from Eternal Wanderer. That really wrecked us in in that one matchup. There's Charming Prince as a white 2-drop. There's Elite Spellbinder, where we could just, keep rolling with the white aggro, like take Spellbinder, wheel something. I like to take Scrap Gorger. I mean, I'm not trying to force the same deck we just had, right? I'm not trying to do that, but I'm also peeping that expressive iteration. One of the reasons, I'll pause real quick. One of the reasons I'm peeping the expressive iteration, and I do think it's relevant to talk about this. So I noticed that LSV and 2.Cubed, Carl, both qualified, and a handful of other folks, but those two were two that stick out to me as players that I just recognize are better than I am. That's just full stop, obviously. And they both qualified on day one with Blue-Red. Now, Blue-Red is not a deck that's on my radar basically at all in this cube, but when I notice two very strong players qualifying with that deck, I know that Carl specifically was soft forcing the deck, was going into day one hoping to draft that deck. I actually talked to him Sunday morning, and I was like, hey, can you walk me through, can you share some draft logs? Can we talk about some pick orders? I want to see how you're getting into this deck. Maybe there are some cards I'm undervaluing, etc. So we had a nice little chat Sunday morning, and I got to look at some draft logs and feel a little bit more comfortable with that style of deck. And so that's why I was peeping the expressive iteration here, despite my dislike for blue in this cube. And then there's this pack where Ephemerate is the white card. There's a green 5-drop and a green 6-drop and a green land. That's good. And then there's Midnight Clock, which is a card I really like. I know it's quite good in the blue decks, in more blue control decks than blue-red tempo decks. I think you could also take Unholy Heat if you wanted, but there was about a bit of a glut of blue there. And then when you follow it up with Sublime Epiphany, it's hard to feel like you're headed down the wrong path, right? That's one of the better blue cards in the cube. There's Meathook Massacre, there's Vran, there's Morbid Opportunist, right? There's cards for my pet Black Sacrifice deck here for sure, but feeling a little bit, and I definitely felt this way, noticed in my day one draft that blue-green was open, right? My first draft on day one that blue-green was open and Marty was kind of cut. Noticed a lot of folks qualifying day one with red-white, so thinking that blue might be open. And here, seeing a lot of the cards for my pet deck again, right? I'm just hovering over Bloodbraid Elf because I love that card so much. There's a Junji, there's an IR, there's a Bloodchief's Thirst, there's an Ophiomancer. Now, if this deck is open, you take Ophiomancer, you wheel IR, you take Blood Tithe Harvester, you wheel one of the black 3-drops, that type of thing. Or you could stick down the blue path and take Opt or Vesuvian Mist, but I felt like, maybe this is going to be open, and then I think this locks me into blue. We see Clock, we got Epiphany 4th, we had Shark Typhoon 6th, a really powerful card that, as we will see, I do not play well with very often. There's a Surge Engine as a really nice blue 2-drop. Blue in air quotes, I guess, with the activation. You could take Metamorph. Multiple Choice is not a card I like very much in Cube. There's a Restoration of Iganjo there as well. And some more blue options. I mean, Frost Titan, I don't need to take a third 6-drop, right? Blue Sun's Twilight, I've been very impressed by. It's a good card to ramp into. And I think Thief of Sanity is something as well, but it feels like we've passed quite a bit of black, and I don't need to lock into another color. Like, obviously, I think the color I personally would feel most comfortable pairing blue with is green, because I understand blue-green ramp. And Disdainful Stroke Wield, which is notable, one, because it was the only blue card in the pack, but two, because I think it's a pretty dang good, like, some of the cards that I chatted with Carl about, like, me misevaluating were, like, Spell Pierce, that kind of thing. Now, if I could go back, I would take Approach of the Second Sun, but again, I was feeling like the cheaper interaction was better and less replaceable. Like, I'm not worried about win cons in this deck. I've already got Twilight, Sublime Epiphany, Shark Typhoon, Expressive Iteration wheels, and Cultivator's Caravan wheels. I end up taking the Iteration because I think that's a signal that it wheels. I think, again, in hindsight, I would have taken the Mana Rock. Haughty Djinn is awesome because it's not only a body for toughness being quite relevant, but also a sort of Mana Rock in the cube. Hard Evidence wheels. So does Vran, and so does Morbid Opportunist. But I'm feeling really good about the move into blue, feeling really good about having that chat with Carl. One of the things I'm not confident in, and as I'm interested to see in my gameplay, because I do feel like there are games that got away from me. So we get the Opt on the wheel, and we got tons of playables here, right? We are solidly in blue, don't need to make a decision on a second color here. And I think we'll continue to be solidly in blue as Counterspell appears before our very eyes. Prismari Command was a card that Carl shouted out. Actually, in his day one qualifying deck, he pack one, pick one Prismari Command, which I was like, well, that's crazy. I'm never doing that. But he was like, the card's really, really good. Making a treasure lets you ramp. And I was like, okay. So I'm sort of thinking about it like, I guess, like a Mana Rock plus for the deck. Like a one-off Mana Rock, obviously, but a Mana Rock with flexibility beyond that. So I'm assuming that'll wheel because Expressive Iteration wheeled as well. Options here, there's Mazemind Tome, Champion of Wits, which I don't love. There's like Ketria Triome as a blue land, a bunch of expensive things. I took the Tome. I wasn't crazy about it. Like, I'd much prefer if Tome here were like Reckoner Bankbuster, though maybe I should have been happier with the Tome. There's Sholdred, which is really good. But I don't know about black. I don't know about how open black is, period. And I think Key to the Archive is just kind of nuts in a deck like this. Getting access to, potentially Approach, potentially Day of Judgment when you need it. But obviously Time Warp is the one that you really, really want. So pretty happy about Key. A couple cards that can wheel in Reality Chip and Negate for my blue life specifically, and potentially other cards based on other things we might have. Now, I snap select Search because I'm obsessed with Search when you have Approach, but we know we're not getting Approach because we passed it on the wheel. Feeling regrets about that here, but pretty quickly feeling fine about getting to take Brawl again, similar to Haughty Djinn as a body plus Mana Rock, pseudo Mana Rock for your expensive plays, right? Brawl on 2, Haughty Djinn on 3. You can play Sublime Epiphany on 4. And then plenty of cards in that pack that can wheel. Narset, I don't feel confident in selecting here. I don't feel like it's necessary. And I do like Day of Judgment. Like, we don't have a second color yet at all. And blue-white is, I think, the sort of a classic pairing. And if we're deep in one color, right, if we're so deep in blue and we end up playing a couple cards of some color, it's best of 3, right? So we may decide, it's a creature-heavy matchup. Let's swap into white and get Day of Judgment and some other things in there. Voracious Great Shark was a card that Carl shouted out. I'm obsessed with Karn. I know I'm going to want Mana Rocks. We've already got Surge Engine. We've got Mazemind Tome, Midnight Clock, Key to the Archive. Hard Evidence makes a clue. So it's not unreasonable that Karn can, make an actual formidable body with the Karnstructs. And then just Teferi and Hall of Storm Giants. Knowing how open blue was, I wonder if I would have taken Hall here. Like, top end's taken care of. We have plenty of cards we end up needing to cut. I think I would have taken Hall. I mean, Teferi is pretty nuts, but I think I would have selected Hall. And then pack 2, pick 8, Magma Opus. And that's going to basically seal the deal on green going out. As you can see, I take the Scrap Gorger out. Iteration comes back in. But then weirdly, Prismari Command doesn't wheel. Very bizarre. We do pick up Mythos and Repeal. Again, Mythos was another card that Carl shouted out. And if we have access to red or green, all the better. Champion of Wits, though. Maybe I should have taken Sheltered Thicket as a cycling land / way to turn on Mythos, sort of for free in a blue-red deck. And then Search Wheels, which I was feeling really good about playing, but I think I ended up cutting based on the advice of counsel. Foundry, sure, whatever. Voracious Great Shark Wield, which is probably what I should have taken the first time, given that I end up cutting Karn. And then Guardian Idol is a sight for sore eyes. Really, truly. Like, if I could get Idol, Cold Steel Heart, what's it called? Mind Stone. I want all those. But I'm thrilled to see Guardian Idol. With Absorb Energy and Futurist Spell Thief as 2 alchemy cards that can wheel. And I guess if I'm blue-red, Spire Bluff Canal as well could come around. But yeah, we're snap taking that Idol. And here's where I exercise a bit of my own feelings about blue, is that I think Brawl's Expertise does a pretty fine job at acting like a sweeper in these blue decks, right? If we don't end up playing white for the Day of Judgment, we can have Brawl's Expertise as a way to bounce some things, drop something on board like Key or Haughty Djinn or whatever, and you can really gain quite a bit of tempo that way. It's possible that Consider is the correct pick here. It's possible that Rona is the correct pick. I've heard some scuttle about Rona as well, but I ended up just taking the Expertise. Kind of a swing and a miss. I think I should have taken Fiery Islet here. Maybe for my own good. I was worried about a few things. And I ended up taking God Eternal Kefnet, which is fine. But I think if I could go back, I would have taken either a red burn spell or the Fiery Islet just for some mana. But I was a little worried about the damage from the Islet specifically. If that were a non-pain land, dual land for blue-red, I would have taken it. And then we take Oracle of the Alpha. Not sure about Oracle, if we're Oracle gamers in this deck, but I end up taking it. I'm not interested in Brainstorm, not interested in any of the duels. The other option is something like Lightning Strike. But we take Oracle. And then there's Censor here, which is excellent. Just really nice, cheap blue interaction. Late Priest makes me sad, and makes me sad that there's truly nothing for me, because I'm not going to play Warcrafting as a red spell, so it's going to be too hard on my mana. Take Thalia away from someone that we could potentially play against. This is a pick I would never in a million years have made had I not chatted with Carl, and / like watched some streamers. Like I saw Sam Black considering first picking Spell Pierce. So I know it's a card that I underrate personally, but I think just getting that tempo advantage with a card like that is really valuable. Late Nissa, Breeding Pool. I actually take the Seachrome Coast for that world where we want to play the White Sweeper. Take a Futurist Spell Thief. Put that in the board. I think that should have been in the main. I think I often cited that in. I don't think I quite understood how busted that card was, specifically with the cards that Oracle gives you, the cards that Key can give you. I think I took Life here. I don't know why I didn't take the Islet. Took Brainstorm at the end. Got to settle the Wreckage over Thassa's Intervention to add to that, sweeper package that we can bring in. And as you can see, we have to make cuts. So I start snapping stuff out. And I believe I even just sent this deck list priest second to last pick. Just the disrespect. I believe I even sent this to Carl, so we can sort of skip ahead a little bit and see, because I think I spent quite a bit of time, because I'm just like not confident in this deck at all. So I ended up just playing Magma Opus as my, or not in this deck, but in this, well, yeah, I guess not confident in this deck, but also not confident in this archetype at all. So 3 mountains for the Magma Opus, 17 lands for sure. Don't want to miss land drops at all. Any notable excludes? I think that Futurist Spell Thief should have been in. We talked about Karn being out. We talked about cutting the Maze Mind Tome, but looks like a lean, mean, disruptive machine, right? Lots of counters. We had Spell Pierce, Censor, Disdainful Stroke, Counterspell, Great Shark, obviously Epiphany. We got Typhoon, Magma Opus. Yeah, so that's the deck. Let's run her through some games. Boom, and now I'm over here. Costume change again. Let's see how Mono Blue fares against our first opponent here. Again, we're at 2x speed for the games. Nice little opener here. Got Consider, Opt. Gonna go ahead and bottom key so we can get some lands a-flowing. And it's a little scary to see Boros, honestly. We are going to censor the Pyromancer. And part of me is thinking, should I... This is a spot where, I just don't know. I haven't played enough with this deck. But, part of me is thinking, I can... sorry, I know the bar here is blocking some of the cards. Do I tap out for Haughty Djinn and risk them having something like Mephitz's Enthusiasm, to kill that? Whereas I can basically just scale my hand, I don't know, hold up Counterspell and Consider, and then eventually be able to play Haughty Djinn. I don't know. It's tough to know what's right. I end up deciding just to make, I think, the correct play, which is just make them have it / tap out for it. It's so good for me if I play Haughty Djinn now and get to untap with it. I can copy it with Mythos, etc. And their best play is to drop in the trenches. That's excellent. We can Mythos copy Haughty Djinn. Go ahead and Consider... but we're not going to tap out a Counterspell here. They're bringing back Pyro, which is totally fine. And then they crew Bankbuster and hit for 4 with the 2/2/2s. So now our choice, I think, is pretty clear to just hold up Clock. Now, part of what I'm thinking is about the In the Trenches activation, right? If they play another land, they can use In the Trenches to exile Haughty Djinn. And so my thought is that I can counter that activated ability with Epiphany, bounce, copy, etc. Here, I just end up countering Epiphany or countering History, bouncing In the Trenches, which sort of forces them to have to decide, do they want to crew Bankbuster now or not? But this is a really good spot for us. They attack with 2 1/1s. I decide not to block, obviously, because that means they have a deal 3. And then we Mythos the Haughty Djinn. We've got Counterspell, we've got Clock, we've got Pierce up. We're in a really good spot, and their head explodes. And we're happy. I'm like, okay, we can beat Boros with this deck. Let's go. And obviously we're playing against a creature-based deck, so let's bring in our counters. Let's cut Magma Opus in the Mountains. That's a great name for a band. Bring in Settle, Day of Judgment, Sea Chrome Coast. What are the other cuts I'm making? Just basically trying to get stuff that affects the board as much as possible. So Champion of Wits, Futurist Spell Thief. And this is one of the mistakes. I do believe Futurist Spell Thief should just have been in the deck, period. I think that's a misunderstanding of this archetype, personally. But I think I do end up bringing it in. Do I end up cutting Key, maybe? Or... I definitely cut Disdainful Stroke. I was thinking about Thalia as just 2 mana, 2/1. First strike is, good against an aggro deck, but I was definitely feeling a kind of it's still just going to be way worse against, it's really way worse for my deck than for them. Even so, I end up cutting Great Shark, just feeling like the 5 mana, 5/4 when we're behind. I probably could have stood to cut Key, but I guess I thought still that Key giving me access to another sweeper was good. Okay, it's so close to a keep, right? So close to a keep here on the draw. We can hard evidence, cycle sensor. But even then, what are we working towards? So I do believe I end up shipping that. And then I think keep and get rid of settle would be my guess. I got rid of consider. It's really interesting. So I just want to talk about that mulligan, because I do think that's... So part of what I was thinking about getting rid of consider was that I can map out my turns like this, right? I can go hard evidence 1, crack the clue on 2, midnight clock on 3, key to the archive 4, settle the wreckage after that, you know? And I just didn't have room for consider there, and I'm likely just wanting to find a land anyway, so I think that's why I decided to get rid of it there on the draw. They play Adonto Vanguard, which is actually fine because Vanguard isn't, you know, insane against settle. Settle is actually a way for us to answer that. They play Bankbuster. We crack a clue. We get Haughty Djinn. Go ahead and play Djinn because it blanks the Vanguard rather than Clock. They go ahead and Swords the Djinn, which is a bummer. But they are stuck on 2 lands here. We get to play Key. Go ahead and find... I think I grabbed Tutor here over Counterspell. Could have also just grabbed Bolt, but I'm grabbing Tutor, shipped a land, which you could take or leave, and then they activate Bankbuster for their turn and don't hit a land drop, so that's great for us. And then we're just sort of... I mean, do I just Epiphany here? Do I... You know, we got tons of options in terms of... Let me just make sure the speed is... Yeah, well, just taking our time here. Tons of options, right? We can Clock, hold up, settle. I don't really want to settle here, you know, given that they're stuck on lands. Looks like I'm going to decide to do it anyway. They activate Bankbuster. They find a land. They play Emiria untapped. We do go ahead and settle them. They get their mountain. They play Banalish Knight. We've got Eternal Kefnet. We have Sublime Epiphany. Nothing worth really like copying here. Kefnet really tripped me up, but I did think that like 5 toughness was really good against them as a way to block Bankbuster too. But I'm not holding anything up. I mean, I am holding up Spell Thief. Yeah, sure. I'll take that. It's a weird game. Like, feels like I should have been able to shut the door, but I didn't. And then look at this pull from them. They have Invasion of Gobakon. What's it? Sigiled Evangel, is that what it's called? Or whatever it is. The 3/1 that makes copies of itself and tap stuff. And then Giver of Runes and a land. So pretty incredible pull off of Showdown for them. For us, it's tough to know if we should... one, again, like, are we holding up Epiphany here? Because we can, like... What can we do? We could counter the Saga ticking up. What am I tutoring for? I tutor for Expertise. Oh, that's really good, actually. Expertise lets me bounce creature, Bankbuster. Puts a choke on what they can do next turn, because like they have to decide, do they want to play the stuff in exile or not? I get to take out Giver before they get to activate it, plus I get to cast Showdown, which is nice. Then we bash for 7. But like even rewatching this game, I'm like fairly unconvinced that I am making the correct plays with this deck. And this is, spoiler, the match that I win. So I'm nervous about watching the next match for sure. They Invasion of Gobakon. Epiphany now costs 8 for us. This is truly not a big deal. And they end up Unholy Heat on Spell Thief. Evangel's a 6/4. Oh yeah, and then there's this awkward spot where I have Day of Judgment revealed now, so I can Day of Judgment again before there's any creatures in play, whatever. It's gonna kill Kefnet. Then there's the other awkward thing of, and check Oracle right now, there's the other awkward thing of, if I copy Day of Judgment right now, Kefnet goes top 3, and then I want to cast Oracle, then I'm shuffling, which I do want to cast Oracle, right? Because whatever. But eventually I just decided, look, 2 Day of Judgments against the aggro deck has to be good. So then I think we're just emptying our hand on the side. There's Oracle. Land goes away. We've still got Epiphany. We've still got another Day of Judgment if we want it. They drop Atsushi, Banalish Knight Counselor, and Reckoner Bankbuster, getting those counters spread out. Clock up to 8 now for us. I don't know why. Why do I have this stop? Oh, yeah. Why do I have a stop in my draw step? Unclear. Draw. There's a land. Five, 6, 7. What do I have access to here? I don't think I want to sweep, but I'm very likely to want to bounce this Atsushi. No attacks. Also very relevant or very cognizant of Midnight Clock here. Okay, Bankbuster's crewing. Oh, okay. We can counter that activated ability and not be put in an awkward spot getting attacked by a 4/4. So we're countering the crew, bouncing Atsushi, copying Oracle, we draw. Oracle shuffles in. I don't know if I cycle Typhoon here or not. Or if I had a counter to clock. Yeah, it looks like I'm going for the counter. Okay, so cast Typhoon. I'm not sure why I'm tapping this way, but here we go. Then we Ancestral ourselves before clock pops off, of course. We just get land and Pearl. No attacks, and then here's our fresh hand incoming. Whew. Whew. Time Twister, Time Walk, couple of Moxen, Surge Engine, Futurist Spell Thief with Time Walk. Yeah. And they're going to go ahead and exile Brawl. Fine. Funny, we could have like Spell Thiefed Touch and then cycled it to like protect Baral in a way, but I think we are miles ahead here. Looks like they're trying to enlist the Banalish Knight Counselor, but we're just going to chump with a shark here. We're just going to lead with Time Walk, which I think they concede to that. That's my, yeah. Lead on Time Walk, they concede. Match 1 goes to us. Let's go. All right, here we are for match 2. This is the money match for $500. Opponent mulligans, excellent for us. Bit of a slow hand, but like Twilight can do something. Expertise can catch us back up, etc. Opponent leads on Mountain. This is a really tough keep, actually, but I do end up bottoming it. I don't want a second Mountain, and then seeing land after that is a bit of a yikes. Swamp Vran. This is supposed to be my deck, opponent. That's supposed to be my deck. All right, they play land. Attack in with Vran, and honestly, I mean, I'm thinking about that I can steal it next turn, but I probably should just make the trade. Yeah, and this is super awkward, right? Because now they play Woe Strider, so I can't steal Vran. So now we're playing Haughty Djinn. And I guess hoping to steal Woe Strider next turn. Slash can hold up Great Shark. Some tank. Wow. I don't remember what this turn is all about. Atsushi, okay. Again, another thing, I can't steal anything until Woe Strider's gone. And then I think I just decide to pass with Great Shark here. Slash, I guess I can activate Surge Engine, make it a 5/4. So we're going to take 4 from Atsushi. Priest cannot counter that fast enough. And get a 5/4 down. That's nice. And now I'm thinking about... I think I do just want to Expertise here before bashing, and then next turn I can steal Woe Strider and get a second Woe Strider. Or I can do it now because Jin is making it cost less, right? So we're going to Twilight, steal Woe Strider, and get another Woe Strider here. Which is awesome for us. Smash all. That Vran is a problem. Wish I had traded off for it for sure. They get in for 4 in the air. Play a Siege Gang Commander. That's pretty terrifying. Yeah, even though I don't think I'm casting that next turn, I think having it is definitely worthwhile. I think I'm thinking of just like, what is my next turn? And I'm pretty sure my next turn is Expertise, bounce the 3. Yeah, 3 non-goblins, play idle, and I also don't want to just like randomly die. So we're trying to figure out what attacks can I make here that makes sense. It looks like I'm leaving back the non-token Woe Strider. There's definitely a world where like they can play Vran and, I don't know, kill Woe Strider and push. I don't know. They end up chump, so they leave themselves with 1. There's Vran. Oh, yeah, Vran and Atsushi, I think I just win. Five, 6, 7 mana. Epiphany only costs 5. It's 3 to pump Surge Engine. So we bounce Atsushi, copy Jin. This gives me, an opportunity to win in 2 turns. Attack with Jin, attack with Surge Engine. Again, not feeling like... Oh, I am feeling secure. I was like, not feeling secure, but I'm forgetting I have Counterspell. And really being like super careful to only counter like something that really matters, like Meat Hook Massacre or whatever. All right. Come on. One of the next 2 for some dollar bills. Let's do it. It's interesting that I immediately do this because it's a creature matchup. But this is a deck I know. The red-black sacrifice deck is a deck that I know. And I don't think the sweepers are actually that good. against them. One, because of the death trigger stuff, and two, because of the resiliency of the threat. So I certainly feel like this swap for game 3, and we are going to go to a game 3, is wrong. Should definitely have been playing the red cards and not the sweepers on the play. On the draw, it's interesting. I could take or leave. I think certainly playing more to the board, cutting Spell Pierce, cutting Key to the Archive, that sort of thing, getting Spell Thief in there. That I think is right, but it's tough. I think opponent sideboarded a bit here. Yeah, okay, here we go. Here's our opener, and they mulligan. I could have just kept this. Oh, and I did. Okay, I definitely thought about mulliganing. Like, I can always just cycle Typhoon on 2, which I'm pretty sure if I don't draw play and I don't cycle it, that's wrong. Yeah, did I not cycle this on? I definitely didn't. Man, this is bad. Ethan, this is tough to go back and watch. It's tough to go back and watch. Yeah, I don't cycle Typhoon here. That's really bad. I don't have the time. Just use your mana. If you can't use... Yeah, you just got to use your mana. So they play Vran. They've got Woe Strider. We know this situation. And now we draw Day of Judgment. And so there's a couple questions, right, about, like, do we take the 2 for 2 now? Do we get a little greedy? I think I end up playing God Eternal Kefnet and getting a little greedy. Don't hate this. I think Kefnet is a nice, resilient threat against them. Again, 5 toughness, really gets out of range of the red kill spells. So then you just have, you know, your Infernal Grasps or what have you, Heartless Act, etc. They sack the token to Woe Strider. Looking for one more. Well, there it is. All right, Siege Gang Commander. There it is. And this is an awkward, like, man, I just wish Shark Typhoon was not in my hand. That I know for sure. It's just an awkward situation to not be able to cast a 5-mana spell. And perhaps I should be casting a 5-mana spell here. Like, just passing and holding up Epiphany. But, like, Siege Gang plus Vran, or Woe Strider plus Vran, I mean, that's gonna hurt me. And this is now the second game I've seen Vran be a problem, which is relevant for what's going to happen later. And apologies that I'm not recording this like, like things haven't, like I don't know what the outcome is, but I think that's part of what makes these videos interesting is the retrospective. At least for me, it's really helpful for me to go back to learn for myself. So they start the scrying journey, and I believe it's only on their second card that they decide they're going to top, which is pretty terrifying, that they're already happy with something here. So then everything gets swept up. Kefnet, I can choose where it goes. And I believe this is now the second spot where I do not cycle Shark Typhoon, which is terrible. So there's a Junji, Midnight Sky. Another super awkward card in Oracle of the Alpha. Just because it's 3 mana. Like, I just don't have the opportunity here. And basically, like, I know I've got, like, one more card before I see Kefnet. And if it's not a land, keeping the Shark Typhoon in hand was just atrocious. And even if it is, like, I know I'm just going to cast Epiphany. I've had 2 spots now where I could just cycle Shark Typhoon, and I should have. All right, Teferi is down, which is fine. That's what I wanted. Like, Teferi as gain 5 plus. And then there's Meathook Massacre, which is terrifying. And then another threat that I have to deal with. Okay. So I got to check Radha's text, which is powerless, can't block it, right? Which is fine. So if I copy Junji, I can block Radha, then they can pump it, then it dies. Then I get something back. I'll be at 9, but I'll get something back. And then I guess I'll be at 5, and then the Meathook Master. It's just so much damage. It's so funny, like, even at just, I don't know, 18 life, I'm pretty nervous against this deck. Ugh. I could be one card deeper, and this Shark Typhoon would not be in my freaking hand. All right. This was the plan. We block Rada's Firebrand. They tap out to pump it. We take 5, 6 from the Meat Hook. 7, 8 from the Junji trigger. Oh, they didn't pump. Right. They didn't pump, and then they finished it off with Chandra. Okay. What are we getting back? I end up getting Haughty Jin back because I feel like I gotta have a way. Wait, did I? Okay. Number Epiphany here, right? Bounce, copy. I was hoping that they would Woe Strider pre, but they don't. So we bounce, copy, draw. Still not a card deeper. Replay Junji. Wish that I had that to be able to counter it. Looking at Kefnet and Disdainful Stroke as like the best quote-unquote turn, Kefnet gives me the opportunity to make sure I can block Junji, and then Disdainful Stroke as a way to counter something big. It won't counter Woe Strider because even though Woe Strider's escape cost is 5, it still is 3 mana on the stack. This Kefnet really screwed me up, I think, just like being super precious about it. Whoa. Okay. I think that's fine. A little weird to not hold up Disdainful Stroke, like, just in case. But I guess I just thought it was likely, and then we just line them up here, right? Triple block. We know they're getting back something. And it's it's probably just, what's it called? Why can't I think of it? I wonder if I'm just supposed to take 5 there. No, because I guess they can do it whenever. Oh, I definitely don't want them to hit me for 5. They get back Woe Strider, and then they can do that. And drain me. But, like, each goblin now represents 3 damage because of Meat Hook Massacre, and I just can't stop it. Yeah, Clue, Cycle Shark. I mean, I just know that this is over, but I'm going through the motions. Huh. Even going back, I just like, that game just feels so... That game feels so winnable. I don't know if it is, but it feels that way. They mulliganed. I got to Wrath when they had those 3 threats in play. Stupid Sexy, Junji, and Meat Hook Massacre. Anyway, here's the big mistake, is that I keep the deck the same. And you'll see it immediately become an issue. But the sweepers on the play, and they're not even that good against our opponent. And I should have been thinking about that like against Vran and Woe Strider and Meat Hook Massacre, Day of Judgment's not that good. It's just not. Settle the Wreckage, even not that good. You can sacrifice stuff with like your free sack outlets. They have a very good version of the red-black deck, and I know the red-black deck very well, and I just wasn't thinking about it. So I absolutely should have swapped back. And this is super awkward hand again. It's close, right? We could cycle Censor on 1, cycle Shark Typhoon on 2. We've got the sweeper. I don't know. I've got Twilight as well. Like, it's possible I should have kept that. So we keep this. And thinking about what our curve is, I think I send back Day of Judgment because I'm like, well, I'm affecting the board. And that was the first time where I recognized, like, oh, I should have cut those on the play. Because now I'm in this spot where I don't want that. So it ended up being fine. Vran again, stupid sexy Vran, just ruining my days. Into, Legion War Boss plus Vran. Now that is troublesome. Okay, Disdainful Stroke. No attacks for me. So we can either counter, if they go land, some 4-drop, we can counter it, or we can Shark Typhoon. Go ahead and block again. Get hit for 2. Cannot counter that fast enough. We get to loot off the Baral. Ship Guardian Idol. I should Shark... If I don't Typhoon for 1, I'm pretty sure I do. Really bad if I don't. Like, I just absolutely want to hit land here for Voracious. Great Shark. And now I'm presented with the issue of what am I supposed to steal, Vran or War Boss? And I should have taken Vran. It was a problem in game 1 and 2. I don't have kill spells, really. I was just thinking, and I have the mana to do this, right? I can consider first, and then I still have Twilight for 3 if I want it, thanks to Baral and Haughty Djinn. But I don't. I end up taking the War Boss because I just thought that the stream of 1/1s was a problem for me, but it wasn't. It wasn't, and I think again, I'm not sure. It's hard to know how the game works out otherwise, but it's possible that that's the game losing play there. All right, land number 5 for the opponent. Yeah, and then once I see Siege Gang, I'm like, oh no. Oh no. What am I supposed to do? And I don't have the counterspell for it. And I think I decide to pass with Great Shark up here rather than, every I'm just like, okay, 7 turns now, 7 pings, plus the Siege Gang is active. They could choose to do nothing if they want to, right? Yeah, I mean, it's still a tough game otherwise. And now, yeah, looking at Great Shark only countering creatures or artifacts when they play Chandra. They got a good draw here. But this is still tough to go back and watch. They go red. Looks like they're sacking Goblin to kill War Boss. Yeah, makes sense. I mean, we have to flash in Great Shark. My other hope was that they were going to just bash in with Siege Gang and Vran. But is Settle good here? No. Settle is very bad here, actually. Because they don't need to attack to kill me. And I knew that already, right? I knew that with Siege Gang. I knew that with Vran. So should not have been... And I guess here's something interesting that I could have done. I don't even know if this would have mattered. I could have settled here to just settle them for no value, but just to get Haughty Djinn as a 4/4 to kill Chandra. I don't feel like I'm losing to Chandra, really. I feel like I'm losing to Vran Siege Gang, but worth thinking about. Okay, Chandra plus on Burial Rites. Yeah. Whew. That's tough. So they get to make the 1/1, and then they can start... I mean, they can just start chucking them at me, right? Like, they sack the Goblin here. That's 4. And then next turn, dead. Sack a thing, Vran. I got nothing. I got nothing to say about it. Other than GG's and rip me. So, and the reason I feel like, I certainly would have had more time if I had taken Vran with the Blue Sun's Twilight. Certainly would have had more time. But, and that's it. I ended up getting, 15,000 gems, which isn't nothing. It's like $75, but you're close when you're so close to that, right? Up a game in the money match. Feels bad to end up losing there, and certainly some variance or whatever, but I made mistakes, right? I made sideboarding mistakes. I think I just made deck building mistakes with this deck for sure. So I'm excited for whenever the next time they got a cube arena open. I'm there, baby. and I'm hungry for it. And I'm hungry for the next one, which will be in a few weeks. But yeah, I don't know if, like I said, I don't know if I win that game if I take Fran, but I buy myself a lot more time. And I certainly maybe buy myself not having to mulligan if my build is better or whatever. But if I don't sideboard incorrectly to white, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, that's that. So thanks for watching. Appreciate it. Like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. And we'll catch you next time.